Hi everybody, this is Tina. Hope you're doing well today. I have 3 DIY projects. Project number 1, I have one of the wood blanks from IOD. It's the larger one. And I am going to be painting that with a Fusion Fort York Red, which is to me a beautiful Christmas color. And I'm going to go over that front and back, completely covering most of it. And then I'm going to be going over it after it's dry with Folk Art Crackle Medium. And I'm putting a pretty thick amount on there. You basically just brush it all on and then you just let it dry. It'll look very glossy when it's dry. And you completely let this dry. It's different than some of them where you leave it tacky. And so I'm not going to do the back. I'm just going to do the front and let it dry. And now what I'm doing is I am going ahead and adding some powder milk paint from Sweet Pickins. And this is the color Creamy. This is a really, really great white color. It's just a little kind of off-white, but not overly yellow. I really love this one. So anyway, I'm going to be going over the Crackle Medium, and I'm just going one. You don't want to go back and forth because what it'll do is it'll start to just completely pull off the paint, and you'll have big old wide gaps. I want a lot of distress on this. I want you to be able to see the red through it. So that's one reason why I'm also using milk paint, because milk paint will also crackle. So I'm wanting a lot of distressing on this. So we're going to go over it just one time. I'm not only going to do one coat. And I'm just going to go all around the edges and get in there. And then I'm going to go ahead and fill in the entire middle portion of it because we're going to be adding decoupage to this. And we do want to have a white background so that the decoupage paper will pop. So I'm going to make sure I get all around the sides. And get in the middle completely. Now I didn't put any of the crackle medium in the very middle. You're not going to see that. I do have some of it on the edges there, and that's because you may see a little bit of that. And now I'm going to take my heat gun out and dry it with that, and it's going to cause it to crackle or more, and it's also going to cause the milk paint to crack as well. So we're going to get a lot of distressing on this, which I like, and I will do that until it's dry. I also make sure that I go over the back. Now I didn't put any crackle medium on it, but the milk paint, when I add the heat to it, will crack, so it'll have a similar effect. So now what I'm doing is I'm getting out my piece of decoupage paper and just kind of using my fingernail to go around the edges to give me an idea of where I need to cut it because it's bigger than the opening. So what I'm using now is just a paintbrush with water to go around the edges. And you could cut it to fit, but I like that frayed edge on it. And this is rice paper, so it has some texture to it when you do this. So when I pull this apart, it will have some texture to the edges, and that's what I like when I put that down on my work, because it'll give me that kind of frayed edge. Now you're really not going to see any of the crackle underneath that, but as you can see, we have some really big cracks, and you can see the red through it, and that was kind of what the look I was going for. A lot of this is going to be covered up later, so you know, you'll see. I just won't even say anything. So now what I'm doing is I'm putting some decoupage medium down. This is my decoupage medium from Paint Couture in the matte. And I go over the whole thing, liberally, and I put it down. Rice paper really doesn't wrinkle very much. It's very easy to work with, but this is a big piece. I'm going to go ahead and take my baggie and on my hand and go over the whole thing. And now I'm taking that same decoupage medium, and I'm going to go ahead and kind of stipple it on as my top coat. And the reason I'm doing that is I want a textured look later, so that it will end up looking like it's a painted piece. So now what I'm doing is I am just taking some clear wax and going over the frame. And now I'm taking some aging wax on top of the clear wax. The reason you always want to put a clear wax down or some sort of finish first is that way you can remove a lot of the wax. And I'm taking off quite a bit of this aging wax. And this is the aging wax from Fusion, which I really love. I like their waxes. They're very smooth and fluffy, and they move really well. So now what I'm doing is I'm using some of Paint Couture's Amber Honey glaze over the actual decoupage, because I want it to look a little bit more vintage. And when I put that texture finish on it, it's going to pick up some of that. And I know it looks kind of scary, but I wipe most of that back, and then I take that same rag and go over the edges of the frame just to give it all the same look. And now what you see is I have the several molds out here. All except for this one here is no longer available. I have a few available on my website. And I also offer castings, not the mold itself, but castings that you can purchase from me. I want to make sure when I'm doing these that I figure out ways that y'all can replicate things. So I do offer the castings. And now what I'm doing is I'm going over all of these castings on the Santa Sleigh mold and some of the other pieces. And I am using Fusion Vintage Gold. I love, love, love this color. It's just, I don't know. It's really a beautiful color. So I go over the whole thing with that. And then I go over the trim pieces with Fusion Bronze Metallic. So I'm going over all the edges with that, just to do some contrast. And I do kind of the same thing on all of the other pieces. And I also add in some red. I add the Fort York red and the bayberry. So I'm going over all of the little red berries here and just trying to accent them. And I decide that I'm going to make the bows on the sleigh red also. So now I'm taking the Amber Honey and going over all of the pieces with the Amber Honey glaze by Paint Couture. And of course I wipe a lot of it back. And what this does is it makes all of the pieces look a little bit more vintage, but it also kind of, I think, makes them look like they go together when I'm done. And of course, I really do wipe back a lot. And then there's a lot of detail in the IOD molds. And whenever you add a glaze or a wax to it, what that's going to do is that is really going to bring out all of those details. So that's what I do all the way across the board with these. So now I'm adding the glaze to the holly pieces, and it does make them a little bit dark, but I go ahead and add that to it, and then I decide later that I'm going to go ahead and add some Heritage House to the bayberry. And that will lighten up some of the holly. I just kind of went over the little holly leaves with that, and that brought them back. And now what I'm going to do is I am using some Tight Bond Quick and Thick to go over or to attach all of these castings. And basically, I just put a healthy amount on there and then put it down. Since this can lay flat, it'll work really well, and this stuff will be stuck on there. I mean, it's not going to move. I don't use any other glue or anything like that. So I go over it, and anywhere I've spilled wax, I go and clean it all up. But I'm a messy crafter. What can I say? So I'm going to go over and do all the middle pieces. And then I'm going to attach the top. Now, I would not use clay on this. You really probably need to use resin. But anyway, I did go over it all with some antique gold rub and buff in certain places. And I really, really love how this turned out. I think I just love it. I think it turned out to be a really beautiful piece. So project number 2 is a pretty easy one, and we're going to be using the same colors. Usually when I craft, I'm kind of a lazy crafter, so I just kind of, they usually all kind of go together. Plus I try and do like little vignettes that go together. So this is just a little crate thing that I bought at Hobby Lobby when they're, you go in their wood pile and it's 40% off. You really can't beat those prices. As far as buying, you can't, half the time you can't even get them at the thrift store for as cheap as you can buy these. So I'm just going to go over this whole thing with that same Fork York red. I love this red for Christmas. Anyway, then I'm going to go over it with also the Crackle Medium from Folk Art. I like that Crackle Medium. It's inexpensive and it works really well. So then again, I'm going to use the same milk paint, and this is the Creamy by Sweet Pickens. I really love this color. It seems a little bit bright, but when you add waxes and stuff on top of things, just like this red looks kind of bright, but when you add a aging wax or a dark oil wax or anything, or even a glaze, that is going to really deepen the color. So you want to be careful that you don't start out with a really deep color. So this works really well. So now what I'm doing is I'm again using my heat gun, and you can see it just crackling right before your eyes. You're not only getting the crackle from the Crackle Medium, but you're getting little tiny small cracks and chips from the milk paint, so this is making it very distressed. So now what I'm doing is I have this little wood piece that it's technically supposed to be like a shelf that you can make from the Dollar Tree, and I am using Bayberry by Fusion. I love this color. I definitely need to be doing some furniture in this. Actually, I think it'd be great on walls too. But anyway, I'm going over this whole thing, and then when it's dry, I have this stencil that I bought from Amazon, and I am just going to be stenciling this just with some white stencil paste. I don't remember where I got the stencil paste from, but I think it's a Deco Art. And I'm going to go over this and just whatever fits on there. I did have a little smudging there, but that's okay. I go back later and I just take my Bayberry and touch that up a little bit. And now what I'm doing is I'm going over this entire dried crate. See all this gorgeous crackle? It's beautiful. I'm going over that again with that amber honey glaze. This is becoming one of my new favorites. Not too light, not too dark. If you're going to buy one, this is a good one to buy. And going over the whole thing, and it's a shame. Look at all that crackle on the bottom. We're not going to see it later. It's gorgeous, isn't it? So yeah, we're going to go over the whole thing with the amber honey, and then of course wipe back a lot of it. And if you don't like this, the vintage part of it, you could always leave that off, because honestly, it's kind of gorgeous, really, just the way it is. So anyway, I always have to dingy stuff up. So if you don't like that, then just leave that part off, guys. Just you figure out how you like it. And anyway, so I'm going to be wiping back quite a bit of this just to give it kind of a vintage look to it. Isn't that gorgeous? Beautiful crackle. So I am going to be putting these little trees that I bought from Hobby Lobby when it was 50% off Christmas, and they need to be a little bit higher. So I have 3 trees to put in there, so I put some foam in the bottom. I added just some Spanish moss, and I attached my little sign to the front I put a few thumbtacks in where the holes were, and that's it. And this is a pretty easy craft. It didn't cost very much, and I think this would be really, really cute on a tabletop or something like that. Project number 3, and this is our last project for today. I have this wood round that I bought from Hobby Lobby. I think you get 3 to a pack. They're very inexpensive. And I'm going to make a door hanger with this. I went over it with, again, the same color, the Fort York red. And I went over it with the crackle medium. And again, we're going to be using the same creamy, going over it. So you don't want to go back and forth because it'll literally just take big chunks of your paint off. You want to go just one time if you can help it. Load up your brush and look at all that. Isn't that gorgeous? Most of it's going to be covered up, but anyway. So now I'm just taking my decoupage paper and I'm kind of just going around with my fingernail just to get an idea of what I'm going to have to cut out. Obviously, some of the top is going to have to be removed. And this is an A3 paper. I do have this on my website if you're interested, along with all the other things. And then I'm taking my water and going around the edges, and I'm going to tear that because I want that tattered look. And I'm also going to remove a little bit more of the white on top. So now I'm just putting my decoupage medium on there, and you'll see that you can't see a lot. You can see a little bit more on the bottom, but it does add to the overall look. You could have just done it white or something like that. And then I'm going to use my baggie to go ahead and smooth it out. And one thing I always do on my decoupage paper, I don't always show it, is I always dry it with my heat gun. And that takes out any remaining wrinkles or anything. It works kind of like the ironing on method. The heat reactivates the glue and basically takes the wrinkles out. So now I'm using just some greenery. I bought this from Joann's. By the way, they had like 70% off of their greenery, and they didn't have a lot in the store. It was really picked over, so I ordered a lot online. So heads up, you think about doing that when you go in the store and it's empty. So now I'm making a bow to put on this, and I bought one of these little, I think it's called a bow dazzler thing. I've saw people using it, and I thought, oh, I don't need it. Well, I actually love this thing because it's that third hand that you need when you're making a bow that holds it together. So you just kind of put the loops in there and you go back and forth. Now this is the small one. There's 2 different sizes. I don't know. I just figured the small one would work, and I'm making a pretty good sized bow here and it worked just fine. So I'm kind of like not really seeing a need why you would need the big one, or if you would need 2 for sure. And then you put that little piece down and smush all the bow. And then I have a wire going crossways on there because I like to tie my bows with wire. And I have the rusty wire that I buy from, you can buy this from Amazon, but I think Factory Direct Crafts. And I think I bought the red ribbon and this ribbon from Factory Direct as well. But I think I have seen this on Amazon. So now I'm going to just kind of place my bow in the middle of my picks. And really, I just added 2 picks to this. That's all I did. So definitely check online if wherever you're going is like out of stock or whatever. A lot of times you can get the same discount. And now I'm using my crocodile to punch a hole. That wood's thin enough that you can use it. It punches right through it. And now I just have some jute rope that I'm making a bow to put in the middle. I thought it needed a little bit more in the middle there. And I also just add the jute rope as a hanger on top. I don't know, it just looks good with it. And I did add some rusty bells to it, and that's pretty much it. And I love how this turned out. I always love my red trucks, especially at Christmas time, and other people love it too. Anyway, that's it. Those are all my projects for today, guys. If you would like to buy a lot of the things that you saw on here, you can find them on my website, rehatchdesigns.com. The link will be in the description box. We're having a pretty good deal on Fusion paint. It doesn't say for sale, but it's about 20% off the normal price. Anyway, we have free shipping over $50 and flat rate shipping for under $50 of $8. So thank you for watching, and I hope to see you guys again soon. I'm putting out a few more videos just because I have a lot of Christmas things I want to get out there. And if you saw some value in this video, please do me a favor and subscribe and like. And I've just hit 6,000. Thank you very much, guys. And I will be having a big giveaway, and I'll be announcing that in one of the next couple videos. So take care, and I'll see you again next time.